You've probably heard the term Yanks to refer to Americans, particularly by British people, but have you ever wondered more about where this came from or thought about the iconic song Yankee Doodle Dandy? In this video, we're uncovering the hidden history behind the term and discovering how Yankee Doodle Dandy, now the national anthem of the... It can't be a national anthem, it's a state. Now the state anthem of Connecticut and the USA's first unofficial national anthem, actually started as a way to make fun of Americans. So let's start with the actual term Yank or Yankee. Most people know that it's used to refer to Americans in general by some people outside of the United States, particularly in places like the UK and Australia. It's not necessarily a derogatory term these days. It can be playful too, depending on how it's said. As an American, I definitely do not take offense to it or think of it as an insult. But what you might not know if you don't live in the US is that the term Yank or Yankee is also used within the US. In the southern United States, it's used to refer to Northerners, more specifically New Englanders, which includes people from the states of Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. During the American Civil War, it was again used within the country by Confederate soldiers to refer to the Union Army. So again, it's being used by some Americans to refer to other Americans, not just by outsiders from other countries. We even have the New York baseball team, the New York Yankees. American author E.B. White came up with a funny little summary to try and keep it straight and explain the use of the term Yankee, which reads, "To foreigners, a Yankee is an American. To Americans, a Yankee is a Northerner. To Northerners, a Yankee is an Easterner. To Easterners, a Yankee is a New Englander. To New Englanders, a Yankee is a Vermonter." I'm not sure I said that right. I've never said the word Vermonter in my life. And in Vermont, a Yankee is somebody who eats pie for breakfast. But who came up with the term Yank? This is one of the biggest mysteries. There is one theory that has the most research behind it and is supported by the most number of sources, so we'll go over that one. But it has also been hypothesized that the term originated as a Native American word or could have been borrowed from the French. But actually, most scholars think that the term began as a derisive term in America's colonial days. There's a Dutch name pronounced as Janneke. It can be shortened to Jan. And the hypothesis is that this may have been used as a kind of a derogatory nickname for a Dutch-speaking American in colonial times, essentially used as an insult by the English colonists. If you're not aware, not all of the original colonies in America were English. There were Dutch, French, and Spanish colonies as well. So then, over time, possibly, the Dutch settlers of New Amsterdam would have used it back against the English colonists in Connecticut. It wasn't until 1758 when the actual first recorded use of Yankee is found by a British general named James Wolfe, or Wolf, if I'm saying it how Brits would say it. He referred to New England soldiers under his command as Yankees. Now we've moved on from the Dutch roots, and it's now being used by the British, speaking about the American colonists. From there, it sort of expands again with Americans claiming it for themselves as well and referring to themselves as Yankees. This pattern, the American colonists taking something that is meant to be an insult and sort of claiming it in order to lessen the derogatory effects, can also be seen in the origins of Yankee Doodle Dandy, the song. Now, the tune of the song goes way back. No one is entirely sure where the tune comes from, but the actual verses as they're known now were a product of a military doctor who wrote it during the French and Indian War in 1755 when British soldiers were sent to protect the American colonists. The story goes that it was sung by them, the British soldiers, to poke fun at the American colonists. If you really listen to the lines of the song, you can see that it's not entirely positive. We've gone over Yankee, but doodle is Dutch for someone who is a fool. Dandy is a conceited jerk. The song was meant to portray Americans as kind of dumb, conceited, and cowardly. In the song, he sticks a feather in his cap and calls it macaroni. This was essentially implying that the Americans were trying to seem sophisticated and stylish to keep up with the Europeans, but were failing and misappropriating upper-class fashion, as if you could somehow stick a feather in your cap and suddenly be noble. However, by 1775, at the battles of Lexington and Concord, suddenly the American troops were defeating the British soldiers, and it was reported that they had sung the song to mock the retreating redcoats, i.e., turning the song around and making fun of the Brits with the song they had come up with to make fun of the Americans, as if to say, how do you like these Yankee doodles and dandies now? At this point, it basically becomes the unofficial national anthem of the American Revolution, and they make up all kinds of new verses to refer to everyone from George Washington to the Battle of Bunker Hill to poking fun at King George III. Today, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it's actually the state song of Connecticut, and well known and sung by Americans as a patriotic song, though I'm sure many of us don't know the initial origins. I definitely didn't before researching this video. So that brings us to the end of today's video. Leave a comment below if you learned anything that you didn't know before watching, and I'll see you all next time.